Hiya, Huns. I am your hostess with the mostest on the ball, Terence Crystal, and welcome to another episode of the Triple Threat Podcast, where me and an extra special guest break down and review everything in the arts. Joining me today is the fabulous Max Reid. Woo! Yay! Yeah! So I did a blank there because I wasn't sure if I should go Max or
Malachi.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sorry, I'm just like, I've known you for now, and I just call you Max all the time.
Oh yeah, like when people first meet me, they're like, "Oh, Malachi, it's such an interesting name. We'll call you that." And after having to say the name Malachi so many times, people are just like, "It's fucking Max." Just
I like the name Malachi. It's a very yeah.
As a kid, I didn't like it, but I think that's because it's a weird name. So like, all my friends are named Jim and Bob, and I'm like Malachi.
I felt the same way a bit about Terence, because I was the only Terence apart from my dad that I knew. Like literally,
my granddad was the only Malachi I knew until I moved to London, and then the guy who works security at Leicester Square Theatre, he's like the head of security.
Oh yeah, you told
Malachi.
me.
We couldn't be more different as people, though. He's a tall, skinny, handsome black guy, and I'm just like Danny DeVito, but slightly taller.
Brilliant. Well, fun fact about me and Max. There are actually two fun facts. Me and Max, we did our master's degree in musical theatre at Mount View together. We graduated 2021.
Yeah, feels like forever ago.
Yeah, literally. And we are housemates.
Yeah.
Yes. So I just have to get you, and then I have to get Callum, and I will have had a full house.
You'll have had all the cards of Exodia. You can win.
All the Infinity Stones.
Yes, you are Thanos.
But yes, no, we studied in Mount View together. And strangely enough, we were never in a class together.
I was thinking about this
in the
other
whole
day.
Nope, never in a class together.
Never
in a project, never. Yeah. Wow.
Even like at the end of our degree, we did a creative project in which we, developed an idea, developed it into a piece, and then
we helped each other out with that.
We helped each other out.
Yeah.
And that's as close as we got.
Yeah.
We weren't even in the same performance group.
Yeah, because
you were there helping someone else who was in your group. I think
Yeah.
was it Molly? Or was it someone else?
I was helping a bunch of people. I think me and Beth kind of like, we went around, and like a lot of people would be like to me and Beth, "Oh, can you watch this and like give us notes?"
Yeah.
And we would just be like, "Yeah, of course." So we watched a lot of people's. But yeah, because it was the pandemic, we were split up into groups of 8.
Little bubbles of 8.
Yeah, little bubbles of 8, because usually with those creative projects, everyone gets to watch it.
Yeah, we Mount Zoom was interesting.
Yeah, well, truly Mount...
Because genuinely, and I mean this with no like, say it because you're an alumni, do it. I mean this genuinely. They did the fucking best they could.
They absolutely...
Like, any opportunity they could get us into the building to work, they did. Anytime they were able to compensate our time or compensate whatever, they were very good with.
Absolutely.
There was some stuff that they just couldn't help. And like a secondary outbreak when there were a bunch of people, I think in the third year performance course that was under us, there was a big outbreak or something.
Yeah, and they had to cancel their final show.
Final show all cancelled. So
I remember I was in the cafe and I saw everyone run out, heaving, crying.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I think me and Veronica and Joe, and I think Beth was there watching this, and we were just like, oh my God.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it because this was before I lived in the area, and I just remember my flatmates who were at the time were
stage managers.
Stage management. They were at both. Just like it's devastating.
Wow.
For them. Yeah. Because they're done. They were done by the time.
Yeah,
this happened.
they were done.
So they weren't even in when it happened. It's like so they really did try to do as best they could for us.
Yeah.
And so like those little bubbles, and the little bubbles were good because I worked with people I'd never worked with before. So
I thought it was really interesting because a lot of the bubbles, like looking back at the creative projects, they all kind of like my bubble especially was all just everyone in my bubble. It was like me, Beth, Veronica, Joey, and I'm trying to remember Joe, and we all dealt with like queer themes, like queer and in like gender stuff, and like we were the gay bubble. And then it did, like, I looked at the other groups and you did kind of share.
They tried to make it like an arts festival would, where you're seeing a similar vibe of the day. Mine was white dudes talking about the patriarchy and toxic masculinity. It was a weird day.
Yes, it was. But no, but actually, speaking of which, sorry we're going on a tangent, but actually, I still to this day, your creative project is one of the best ones I saw.
Thank you.
Yes, I really, it was really, yeah.
It was a very difficult project to do.
It was very difficult.
I won't go into detail because that could be a whole podcast.
It was good.
One of my favorite things, actually, to tie it back into Terence and I's love of certain kinds of media.
Is it? Yeah.
One of the themes of my creative project was repeating of time. Like you'd get to the end of it, it would rewind back to the beginning, and you would keep repeating and repeating. And I just wanted to add little details in there without just having full-on references, because I felt like full-on references would be too niche. It would make
and
it
like
too,
hit you over the heads, like
it'd be too like eggy.
Here it is.
So smaller references and little subtle things that only people that know would get, more Easter egg like. And I think that tied into the video games that I liked.
And even if you didn't know video games, you could listen to the song and just be like, oh, the lyrics in that mean.
Yeah, because Terence suggested right at the end of the creative process, adding
like the day before you were on.
Yeah, the day before that my entrance and exit music should be "We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when," and I was like, that's perfect, because not only did it tie into one of my favorite games of all time, BioShock, but it also
love BioShock.
Tied into the whole time loop thing. So it was
great.
It was really
thank you. Yeah, no, I just remember sitting there and that was the first thing I wrote down. Yeah, but yeah, no, that was fun times.
Yeah.
Yes. So, if you are new to the Triple Cathartic podcast, every time we have a guest on, and my guest will give me a non-spoiler review of a piece of art, whether it be cinema, TV, or anything that I haven't seen, and you will go off on that, and I will do vice versa, and I will give a non-spoiler review to my guest about something that I've seen but they haven't, and then at the end, we give a big fat fucking spoiler review about something that we have both seen. So, to kick things off, I always start with my guest. Max, what have you brought in for me? What have you
I brought in an anime, specifically an anime film. I decided to bring in Dragon Ball Z Super Hero. That's the
Very
name.
nice.
Yes.
Okay.
So straight off the bat, I'm a huge Dragon Ball Z fan. Like I have been since I was a kid. And the past 2 years have been the best 2 years for Dragon Ball content.
Because I'm like, I remember growing up and like seeing it on TV, because like I think for a lot of people Dragon Ball Z is like the intro into the world of anime.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. The past 2 years, even though I'm not a hardcore fan, I've seen in the background like these new Dragon Ball Z projects coming out, video games, TV shows, movies. Yeah, so
they just announced Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi Budokai 4, which there hasn't been a Tenkaichi game in about 15 years, which makes both me and my best friend go, God, we're old. Like, I remember playing that game with him on his sofa in his parents' house for hours on end. Yeah. Being like, this is the greatest game ever. No game will ever be this good.
When was this released?
This film. Yes, this film was released in 2022. So
it's fresh.
Recent. And it's one of the first Dragon Ball Z films in a long time. I'm not sure ever, because it's difficult to track where things got but it's one of the first ones to get a major release over here
in like the Western
kind of. So like Dragon Ball's, there's 4 stages of Dragon Ball.
Okay.
Because there's Dragon Ball Z, there's Dragon Ball the original, which was created by the wonderful Akira Toriyama back in the 80s.
Yes, I think that was the one I kind of grew up with.
Yeah, because it was a manga in the Shonen Jump magazine, and he would write for that. He'd done a bunch of stuff before. He did a comic, what we would call it comics, more of a manga over in Japan called Dr. Flumph, which was very comedy and very silly. Okay. And then he did the art and design for Chrono Trigger.
I know that one. Yeah,
it's stunning. But then he wrote Dragon Ball, which is a retelling of the story of Journey to the West, which is a Asian sort of proverb about a little monkey boy finding friends and traveling west. That's his whole shtick. So that's what Dragon Ball was. Yeah. Then there's Dragon Ball Z, which is the famous one. That's the big one. That's where you get like beam struggles, big battles and all that kind of the cool space stuff.
Yeah.
Then there's Dragon Ball GT, which the fandom is torn about because it was made without Akira Toriyama. Which is all I know. Anytime something is made without the original creator, it's tough.
But I feel like there's always something in a fandom that fans are split about.
Yeah,
there's always this one thing.
And what's ironic is that GT, even though people don't hugely like it, has some of the most iconic parts of Dragon Ball in it, and it's crazy. Like, but then I could go on forever about it. But then there's Dragon Ball Super, which is the newest iteration.
I've heard of Dragon Ball Super.
So Dragon Ball Super is essentially Akira Toriyama is back. He's back with a vengeance.
Woo!
And is writing for this new section of manga, which is then being turned into anime, and it's brilliant. So when Super came out, originally it only had 2 movies, which was Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods. I'm not sure what it's called in Japan because they always have
a different,
very different names.
Very different names.
And the naming convention is always very interesting. In Japan, they have this thing of just telling you what the film is.
I think I've seen this in like an article where like it's like literally what is the film, like
100%. Like there's
it's something like there's
Ball...
one Frozen where it's just like Lady
Ice Queen.
Ice Queen. Yeah.
The Dragon Ball ones are even funnier because Akira Toriyama was a comedy writer, so I think he wanted to keep comedy and levity a big thing.
Okay.
So like one of the old school Dragon Ball Z movies, one of my favorites, is called Dragon Ball Z Lord Slug. Won't get into what the film is. It's just a very good Dragon Ball Z film. Its name in Japan is Dragon Ball Z Goku Superhero Battle Lord Slug Namekian, I think. I think it's something like that, which gives away everything in the film, including the twist of the film, which I think is just brilliant. They don't care. They're just like, here's what the film is. Come see it.
Bam.
But then it had Battle of Gods, then it had Resurrection F, and because of the popularity and all the sort of hype around it, and they just released some video games called Xenoverse where you like get to make your own characters and do all sorts of cool stuff. People wanted more Dragon Ball. Super became a thing. So, so now we're into this new era of like Dragon Ball Z Super, and they've had one film under the Super banner, which is Dragon Ball Z Super Broly.
Okay.
So that was a whole like fixing of some non-canon stuff in the past. It was very good. The animation was stunning. But then we get to this film.
Is this film, can I ask, is this film like traditional 2D?
So no.
Or is it kind of like a mixture like what's been happening in the past like 7 years, I think?
So it's really interesting. So the first Dragon Ball Z Super film, which was Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, was 19% of it was hand-drawn 2D animation.
Yep.
Which might not be actually hand-drawn, but you know, it's that thing of it looks like.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anyone's actually drawn with their hands for a long time in animation. I could be wrong though. Please correct me. I'd love to learn. But then there were small fight sequences that were done in a 3D, pseudo 3D style.
Okay.
Which weren't great. Then we get to Resurrection F, where there's more of that. And it was better. We get to Broly, where there is a section in that film, the fight sequence, that is so gorgeous. Like the 3D animation and the use of After Effects and the use of like blending of the two styles. Like there's moments where it switches between the 2D and the 3D, and you kind of have to go, there it is. You know, like in Birdman, where you try to watch for the cut. It's like that, where you go, oh, suddenly we're in 3D. What the hell? This is so cool.
Yeah.
This film was entirely done in 3D.
Okay.
So I would like
was it like kind of like a cell shaded kind of like?
So they tried to make it feel like you're looking at the manga page, but within a 3D world. So it's falling into that category that we're seeing of like Spider-Verse and
Puss in Boots,
and the new TMNT film that's coming out, which looks
amazing,
stunning. I said this to you the other day. My childhood is coming back. There's a new Dragon Ball Z game. TMNT is happening. Like
Spider-Man across the across the Spider-Verse.
Can't wait for that.
Part 1.
I'm telling you, Gargoyles just needs to come back on.
Yep,
on
you were
Disney,
saying,
and my life will be set. I've already got a new DuckTales cartoon, which I've watched all of, and it's amazing.
Oh, I've watched bits. I haven't watched all of it,
It's really good.
which is weird because usually I watch that kind of stuff, but I've only watched the clips with Don Cheadle as Donald Duck.
Oh yeah, that was out of nowhere.
It was the best thing ever.
Yeah, so the film, its style, I'll be honest, when I first heard that's what they were going to do, I was hesitant because it looks stunning on the trailers, but I'm like, oh, some of the characters look a bit awkward, but it's absolutely fine. Like it actually doesn't matter. And then I heard,
Does it take like you watch the first 5 minutes and just adjust to it, and then it's perfect?
It's like Spider-Verse. You watch 2 minutes of the film and you're like, okay, we're in.
This is it. Yeah.
Because same thing happened with Spider-Verse. The first 2 or 3 minutes, I was like, what is this animation?
Yeah.
But then you just become part of the world and you accept it.
But you know what's really funny? Obviously, Spider-Verse, you know, the effects and the story were really great. And I remember sitting there just being, oh my God, it is so funny.
Oh, it's so funny.
I remember like actually laughing out loud and like I was just like, this is one of the funniest films I've seen this year.
Yeah.
Like that was the bit that I was just like, whoa, this film is fucking hysterical.
Yeah. It's because it wasn't afraid to let their characters have fun.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things of like
because you have a superhero that's like such a big brand like Marvel that you're afraid to like.
Which is one of the reasons I love Miles Morales as a character, because not only is he of such a unique perspective to look at, you know, being
his father being a police officer,
being a police officer, being a Latinx child in New York,
and then the uncle being
a criminal, his mother being a nurse and a doctor, like that's another even another level, and being young and having the Spider-Man legacy to live up to, like that's all these sorts of levels. So they, so he's already got so much, but because he isn't Spider-Man, he's not Peter Parker, you know, he's allowed to be unique. I think it's why people are starting to be more like they want Miles more than Peter, because Peter feels like too much of an established brand.
And the Spider-Man 2 game, we're gonna get like Miles as like a
fully fleshed out
character instead of like a DLC.
And Venom, which is gonna be
oh my God,
so good.
Yeah, I wonder who else they're gonna bring.
Oh, they'll pull people out of the woodwork.
Yeah, because they got the Sinister Six really well in that game.
So good.
Yeah,
and I'm
still pissed off No Way Home didn't do the Sinister Six. And they were going to they were gonna do Mysterio.
Yeah.
And I was like, I am ready. The Sinister Six is like my favorite villain group. Oh, I'm so excited. And then they didn't do it, and I was just like, okay. But then in my mind, I'm just like, none of this would have happened if Mysterio didn't do that.
Mysterio
so in a way, Mysterio is part of the Sinister Six. But
denial is also a river in Egypt.
Okay. But anyway, this Dragon Ball. Yes. Did you see this in the cinema?
So sadly, no.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to see it in the cinema because
was it released in the cinema here?
Well, yeah. That was the convoluted way we got here was that it was released in cinemas, because the first couple of Dragon Ball Z Super movies, like Resurrection F, Battle of Gods, and Broly, were released in smaller areas and smaller cinemas, so you could go see it out here, and there was no issue, and you could see it thing. But I was seeing adverts for Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super Hero, in Leicester Square, in like the big cinemas where you can have like 200-300 people, and I'm like, I've never seen that before.
Yeah,
and it was so I was very excited to see the film. I was worried because Dragon Ball Z films, and to be fair, Dragon Ball in general, get some flack from fans here, can be quite predictable.
It's like a formula.
It's a formula, and it's the shonen formula. It's antagonist appears, antagonist kicks the shit out of all the little characters. Hero comes in, big battle ensues.
Gets down, then all of a sudden gets urged and goes super
power friendship.
Yeah,
there it is.
Yeah.
But this film does not do that.
Okay.
No spoilers, because it's a non-spoiler review. But the way the way the film handles it's the characters that have been deemed secondary for a lot of the franchise is wonderful.
Yeah.
And it feels like a love letter to people who have been Dragon Ball fans for years, because there's references to not just Dragon Ball Z, but Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball, the original series. There's references to the film universe, which has always been deemed non-canon. So there's like things, and you get to see, now this, I don't think this is a spoiler, because they show this in the trailer. There's a character in it called Piccolo. Piccolo is the GOAT. He is the OG. I love Piccolo.
Is he the green guy?
Yes, he
in
is.
the like shoulder pad
the big
outfit.
spikes and
yes,
the turban.
I do know who you're talking about. Yeah,
he's amazing. He's one of the best characters in all of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Like all Dragon Ball. They let him. So he has special powers because he's an alien,
Mhm.
and one of them is that he can stretch his arms to ridiculous lengths.
Okay.
And in so many instances, people call out and go, "Oh my god, why is he not doing that?" Like this fight, he could totally do that. In this movie, he does that, and people use moves that they've used in the past and then never used again. But we're finally getting to see it, and I genuinely sat with my best mate Jack, and we watched the film because I hadn't seen it yet.
Mm.
And at the end of it, I went, "That is the single best piece of Dragon Ball media I've watched, fresh in years."
Well, it sounds like it did a lot of fan service without delving into like what I like to call the Hobbits. It's because famous, like, I don't know, there's a bit what I'm referencing is that there's a bit in the Hobbit 2 Desolation of Smaug where they're all talking. The elves are like hunting down the dwarves, and one of the guys just goes, "Oh yeah, what are you doing?" And Legolas is like searching him for stuff, and he pulls out a photo of a small kid.
What is this
and he just
foul
goes,
creature?
"Yeah, what is this foul creature?" And he goes, "That's my wee lad, Gimli." And I'm just like, did you just like do like a product placement of like the fucking Lord of the Rings? For fuck's sake.
It's because it feels unnatural. It doesn't feel like a moment of reality. Like it feels like a break from the reality of the world we're in.
Yeah, literally. It just it feels like someone's just like, and then like they say Gimli and they're like looking at the audience being like,
"Did you get it?
Did you get it? He said Gimli, and Gimli's in the original trilogies.
Yeah.
And that's his father."
That's his father.
Yeah. It's just so annoying. But it feels like that film, like to you, was me with Spider-Man No Way Home. Like the perfect, like calling back to all the original things.
And it did, but it also wasn't afraid to do new stuff. Like one of the big, one of the big things, and again, I don't feel like this is a spoiler. In Dragon Ball content, most of the time, it boils down to villain appears, they go off into a field somewhere, and they beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
They don't do that in this film. And it feels like they're going to. It feels like they're very much going to. But then it takes a left turn into something completely different.
Okay.
And it reveals, similar actually to what we were talking about with the Miles Morales thing with Spider-Man, it allows very serious characters to be a little bit silly. It allows very silly characters to be a little bit serious. And I think, and again, without spoilers, because he's like the poster child of the film, there's Gohan in this film.
Yes.
So Gohan is the son of Goku.
Yes. Yes.
There's a whole conspiracy theory. I have no idea if it's 100% true, because there's always, people say different things and different things. Gohan, when they were writing Dragon Ball Z, seemed to be being set up to be the new hero of the show.
So that they can
pass the torch,
on.
do the thing. Because Goku, at that point, had been around because the original manga came out in like the 80s, the anime came out in the early 90s, Dragon Ball Z was... the manga was mid-90s, came out in the late 90s, didn't come out over here until the early 2000s.
Okay. Where
I know if anyone who listens to this who's a Dragon Ball Z fan, you'll know Toonami at like 10 o'clock at night.
Adult Swim.
Eventually Adult Swim.
Oh my God. And what was that little robot character that would introduce it?
Yeah.
On the spaceship?
I forget his name, but it was just, and now coming up next, we got Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
And then you would all just hear the theme song, just the rock and roll screech, rock the dragon, dragon. It's, the original theme song to Dragon Ball Z is also so different from that.
Really?
That was so there's a wonderful abridged series of Dragon Ball called, oddly enough, Dragon Ball Z Abridged, by a group called Team 4 Star, and they used the original Dragon Ball Z theme for their opening of their sort of parody abridged version of the show. So that was the first time I'd ever heard it. It's so different.
Really?
Like, it's so different. Like
good.
But brilliant. I actually prefer it now, even over my nostalgia as a kid. Because the original one is called Rock the Dragon. Yeah. And it's literally a death metal screech on a guitar, and then a guy in the background going, "Dragon, dragon, rock the dragon, dragon, rock," for like a minute. Whereas the original one is called Head Chala, and it's a guy singing, and it's like really upbeat and quite 80s glam. It's really fun. I'll play it to you at some point.
Yeah, do.
It's really cool. But But in in Dragon Ball, essentially they kept setting up Gohan to be the hero, to be the next Goku, because Goku had been around for so long. And like in the first saga, where we start to get introduced to the idea of, oh, there's space and all this sorts of other stuff. Gohan is really powerful, like he's really strong, but he's just a kid. They go to the next saga and he's fighting against powerful warriors. He's holding his own even as a child. It's like, oh wow, keeps going. They get to the Cell saga, which is my favorite one, and probably the most popular of the original Dragon Ball Z things. And Gohan again is being set up as this hero, and he beats the villain where Goku couldn't. And it's like, that's a big thing. That's kid beating dad at basketball. That's the moment. And then the next saga happens, and lol, Goku is back, and he wins, and Gohan's kind of forgotten. And Gohan is made to look silly, like he gets turned into this kind of side comedy character.
Okay. Do you think was there like maybe reparations from fans being like, we want Goku back?
Probably, because Goku is one, in my opinion, the original like holy trinity of anime was, well, for at least me growing up, was Dragon Ball Z, Bleach, Naruto.
Yep.
So it was like those are the goats. You don't touch them. You don't mess with them.
Yeah.
So I think there was a lot of people going like, oh, we just want Goku here forever.
Yeah, it sounds like that kind of thing.
But apparently that was always the journey they were planning. There was not a thing, and there's people have had rumors back and forth about it, because some people have said that like there's a part in the Buu saga where one of the characters who was a villain originally, but became their friend, goes back to being a villain for a part of this. And it's like, oh, big betrayal. And they're like, well, originally that was supposed to be Piccolo and Gohan, because Piccolo trained Gohan. So it's this whole thing. And I'm like, you could say that, but I feel it's more like rumor and speculation. Yeah. People trying to find an answer to why they did it. But in this film, we get to see Gohan in a different light. And
like you said, be more a bit serious.
And be serious and handle things in a different way.
Okay.
And it just does everything better than we've seen in the past. Like, one of the big things about Dragon Ball Z that Dragon Ball Z does a lot is a thing called transformations. Everyone's seen it. It's been parodied a million times. Goku becoming Super Saiyan, you know.
With the giant hair.
Yeah, scream until you turn gold and your head goes crazy. Like, turn supersonic.
I was about to say, is that inspired?
I have no idea. They came out within months of each other.
Because I want to know who came first, the chicken or the egg. Who came first, Sonic or Dragon Ball Z?
I will go with Dragon Ball came out first.
I will probably, yes.
The manga came out, which, fun fact, the reason that Super Saiyan is even a thing is because Akira Toriyama wanted it to be easier to ink in the manga. Because in the manga, his hair is blonde, so they don't ink it, so it's just white. So it's cheaper and easier to produce.
Fair.
Again, no idea if that's true, but I heard that, and I think that's really funny.
Because I always remember seeing those similarities, and I was just like, and Sonic is an old game.
Dragon Ball's older.
Dragon Ball is older.
That's where I go with it. That had to have come first.
Had to.
But transformations have been kind of made almost a joke within the franchise, because it's the thing of Dragon Ball. There was Super Saiyan, then Super Saiyan 2, then Super Saiyan 3, then Dragon Ball GT introduced Super Saiyan 4. And like, so there was all this sort of like, oh, it just increases
it just
in
keeps
numbers.
getting up.
And then Dragon Ball Super came out, and it's like, oh, now there's Super Saiyan God, and then there's Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, and then there's Super Saiyan God Blue, and all this sort of other stuff. And it's like, transformations became kind of pointless. It felt like, which is stronger, this one or this one? Oh, it doesn't. This one's stronger, then why would he use the other one ever? Like, but this, again, it handles it really well, and it feels earned, and it feels like there's a connection in the story to it, and it feels like
it's not just pulled out of nowhere like an ex machina or something like that.
Yeah, 100%. And this, like, the film was written by Akira Toriyama and Tetsuro Komada, and I genuinely think having Tetsuro on the script with Akira Toriyama was great, because I think their writing process together seems to have had because Akira Toriyama is famous for forgetting things about his own thing. There was a character in Dragon Ball called Launch that he completely forgot existed, so she vanished from the anime and the manga.
That's hysterical.
Like, completely forgot. He also forgot that because obviously there's Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3. He forgot Super Saiyan 2 existed. Completely forgot. Like one of the most famous transformations in the franchise. I don't remember. Did I do that? So having someone else's eyes there and a younger,
like,
more new thing definitely has given this it's revitalized Dragon Ball for me, because I've said whoever, when I first saw it and I didn't like know of the thing, I was like, whoever's done this, they need to be in charge forever. They need to be in charge of the franchise from now on, because not only does it feel referencing the past and grounded in where Dragon Ball was, it feels really good and really modern and great for the technology, the thing, but it also feels like this knows where Dragon Ball Z is going.
So that's interesting that you say that, because I think a lot of stuff that has a fan culture has creators who are super fans and who are like listening to the original creators, but then also going down
a new road.
Yeah, which I think that's happened a lot with like The Last of Us, famously, and a bunch of other stuff where it's not the original creator isn't in charge 100%. It's this other fan coming in and like looking at the history and the lore. And I think, like, because we were saying earlier, it's so much better to have the original creator there, but are we getting to a stage where the original creator can just sit back and let them...
See, that's I feel,
because I feel people fear that.
People fear that, and I think a good example of that is what we're seeing
Star Wars.
A bit of Star Wars. Yeah. But I was gonna say Avatar: The Last Airbender, because because there's so much drama around the idea of
live action one,
and I feel bad about the live action one, because the actors and performers in it wanted the best, but the direction and writing of it just was not there at all. But now you look at the original creators have worked a deal with Netflix to do a live action thing, but now they've stepped away from that because they want to focus on what they want to do with Avatar. So they're doing the Aang Gang.
And they created their own studio.
And there's going to be a new Avatar coming out in a couple years. I think a couple years. It's going to be
2025.
It's going to be an Earthbender Nation. But I feel like for me, that's what I'm seeing with Dragon Ball. This idea of, we know the franchise, we created the franchise, but we understand that the franchise can't remain the same. And as much as, again, in the Avatar example, loved Avatar: The Last Airbender. Oh my God, is it phenomenal?
Oh, it's one of the best TV shows, point blank. Period.
One of the best American animations of all time.
Yep.
Korra comes along, completely flips the script on so much that we know of the franchise, breaks a lot of traditions from the franchise.
Oh yeah.
But The Legend of Korra is still really good. I really enjoyed it.
It's good, but I feel like
nowhere is near as good as the first.
No, because that high expectation.
Oh yeah, you can't. It's trying to follow the worst. Like the opening act is like Queen. The next act on, even if the next act is,
if it's slightly a bit like not up to par of the like first one, then it's struck down as bad.
And I also think it suffered from a lot of people going, this is mean, and I know this is mean, but I think Korra also suffered from a lot of people going, a girl being the Avatar.
Oh yeah, Jesus Mary.
What? And where's Aang? And it's like, because we need... Guys,
he's dead. He's dead.
That's one of my favorite things they established.
He's dead
with the Avatar. That for there to be a new Avatar, the last one got to be dead. So guess what? You want a new Avatar? Aang's dead.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, that's the thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
But no, and the thing is, it did some things wrong. It made some mistakes.
Like the second season is, I think, the clear example, because the third season is incredible, and the first season I really enjoyed because it was setting up. Second season, bit of a letdown. But you can see in the first season that they didn't know that they were going to get a second season.
Yeah,
you can totally see it. You could tell.
Season 3 with the Red Lotus and then season 4 with Kuvira are two of the best things. Yeah. Like, I still think that season 3 is their best.
Oh, season 3 is 100%.
The Red Lotus is so good because it's terrifying.
It's terrifying.
Like that scene where he airbends the air out of the Earth Queen's
and even like
lungs.
the last scene of like the last episode where it's just Korra in a wheelchair crying.
When I first saw that, I genuinely paused and was like, "What the fuck?" I want to go. I want to go back to Ember Island where they're all having kooky adventures and watching Aang be played by a little girl. Like what the hell? Or the scene where the exploder girl gets her head blown up.
Oh yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Jesus. But yes, so this kind of I think
The passing of the torch.
the passing of the torch to new creators with the old creators still being there, kind of watching, maybe slightly guiding. Is that where it's heading with Dragon Ball?
I think that's where it's heading with Dragon Ball, and I think it's good because
and with stuff like this coming out, you're like, I'm happy for the future.
I'm happy for the future, but I'm also ready to. This is another thing I think that a lot of people find difficult.
Yeah.
I'm happy to let Dragon Ball Z go because I let Naruto go. I really haven't watched any of Boruto because I'm not really
Boruto?
a fan. Oh, his son.
Oh.
Because I wasn't a huge fan. Like, hey, might get hate for this. Wasn't a huge fan of the original Naruto. Naruto Shippuden is way better, which was the sequel series where everyone's a little bit older and the stories are a little bit more thing.
Yeah.
It was really good, but I've accepted. Boruto's not my thing. Okay, fine.
Fair.
I let go of a bunch of anime because that's the thing. I watched his name has gone out of my head. That's really bad. Is it David Arquette? It might be David Arquette.
The comedian?
No, he's a comedian and an actor, I think, isn't he?
Yes, he's in Scream movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was him. I don't know if it was David Arquette. It might have been someone else talking about Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful because they essentially go, look, the original Star Wars trilogy was made for kids.
Oh, no, it was Freddie Prinze Jr.
That's who it was.
Yeah,
Freddie Prinze Jr.
who played Fred. Yes.
The original Star Wars series was made for kids.
He did a voiceover act in like Rebels.
Yeah, and then it's the prequels. They were made for another generation of kids. This one made for another generation of kids.
Yeah.
Enjoy it if you like it, but if you don't make it everyone else's problem.
Yeah.
And I'm 100% like, if Dragon Ball goes on a path that I don't like, then I'm just not going to watch it. I'll find something new. There's new anime every other day. Like,
you're basically saying if you don't like something, just watch it and move on.
Yeah, don't ruin it for everyone else. Just because you don't want to eat a Caesar salad, don't walk up and pour some mayo in it. Like, don't ruin the soup.
Oh my god. Oh, that's hysterical. But I'm going to ask you what I ask all my guests, because tell me about your experience watching it and give it a rating out of 10. What would be your experience?
My experience watching it was being taken through the generations of Dragon Ball.
Mm-hmm.
I sat there watching it, remembering what it was like to be a kid, seeing the original and loving it. Where I am now going, I really appreciate this for its animation, for its quality, for its whatever.
Yeah.
And then looking at it as the future of a franchise I love. So it was a roller coaster of good feelings watching it. It was wonderful. And a rating out of 10. I would give it an 8.5.
Okay.
Because there are some things that I didn't like, and there was some, this is a really small thing. I watched it with the original Japanese voice actors, and there are just certain Japanese voice actors they do a wonderful performance, but good God, it's difficult to listen to them. It's like God rest him, but Gilbert Godfrey. He was a wonderful voice actor.
Oh yeah,
Iago is iconic
and hysterical.
But listening to him scream for 10 minutes is hard to listen to.
That's true.
But yeah, 8.5.
Okay, good. Well, thank you so much. That was a really good review.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And now I'm going to move on to what I have brought in for you.
Yes.
Now I have brought in Lady Gaga's fourth studio album released in 2013. It is art pop. Now, first of all, I would just like to preface this by saying that this is one of my, if not my favorite album of all time.
Oh gosh.
Like, this is
heavy hitting, Terence. Heavy hitting.
I remember buying the CD and being so excited. No, actually, I got the CD for Christmas because it came out in November. And this year is the 10th anniversary.
Oh, awesome.
Yes. So, and I remember just falling in love with it, and just as the little gay kid, like loving Lady Gaga, just listening to this, like, was amazing. And I think you know one of the songs. Like, do you know APPL? Give me the thing that I love.
Oh yeah.
Applause. Yeah. It was like one of the hit songs from it.
Applause.
There's applause. Yeah. It was released in 2013, and I find this album so interesting because now I think you can agree with me that I think Lady Gaga is like she is in like a level of her own. She has been around for 12 plus years. She has made a staple in the pop music world and in the film world now. She's multi-talented. She's like she is now an icon.
She feels, you know, when people say, "Oh, you feel part of the bones of a building," or like she is part of the bones of pop music.
Yes.
Like to take Lady Gaga out of pop music would be to like it would destructure the whole thing. Like she feels a foundational part of what modern pop is.
Yeah, and like and even like the influence she's had on other pop stars, like with her like her early crazy.
Oh, you can see it.
You could see it, like
Sia and
Katy Perry, Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, I was gonna say even in like genres that weren't really hers. Like Nicki Minaj is a really good example because you look at pop and then you look at the hip hop and rap world and you see the image I will always have of Nicki Minaj
is that outfit she wore
is the blonde bob cut, like long blonde hair, bright pink, like Barbie doll aesthetic that I'm like,
and she really like Lady Gaga like laid, I think, well obviously there were people before Lady Gaga, like obviously we have to say like Madonna was quite like of the like doing that as well,
even people like Cyndi Lauper and
and then even before that, like David Bowie before that, like kind of like laying this foundation. But Lady Gaga's like a contemporary one.
Yeah.
But this album famously, because before that she had released Born This Way. Now Born This Way was a huge like mainstream success. It had like 6 top 10 hits.
Couldn't turn on a radio and not hear it.
Yeah, exactly. It was winning Grammy after Grammy. It was and she was just like performing to sold out shows and all that stuff, and everyone. And this was coming off the high because from the period of like 2008, 2009 to 2012, it was just Lady Gaga everywhere because you had like Poker Face, Just Dance, Bad Romance, Telephone. Born This Way. Yeah, I know.
One of the best music videos.
I remember watching that, and this is such a bad. Oh, but I'm going to tell it anyway. There's a scene in the music video where Lady Gaga climbs up onto the jail bars, and she's fully naked.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that, just being like, "Huh, I am gay."
If I can watch Lady Gaga climb onto bars naked and not be aroused, I must be gay.
Have you seen that meme where it's just like, my son can't be gay. He loves women. The women.
Yeah.
To people who can't see, I just gestured to all of the female pop artists posters I have in my room.
Representing. There's some very good ones up there.
Yes, Lizzo, Rihanna, Lady Gaga,
Billie Eilish,
Ariana Grande. But this album, so there was a high expectation for this album because obviously this one was met with, was actually reviewed quite badly. This one, like, a lot of the fandom says that this was the one that started, like, quote unquote, the downfall of, like, Lady Gaga. And I say downfall, like
the downfall of Lady Gaga.
No, hear me out, because like it was a very experimental pop album, and what I said is that it like a lot of its influence from dubstep, like a lot of that kind of like just off the wall, like think of like a really like a rave.
Yeah, it felt like Lady Gaga from an outside looking in, because I enjoy Lady Gaga, like
and you only know like Applause.
I from this album, yes.
Yeah.
But it seems like she's the kind of artist that doesn't like doing the same thing over and over again.
No, she hates it.
I love. Okay, again, I might just get hate for all of my opinions. Like I love Green Day. I think Green Day are one of the most seminal like pop punk bands of all time. Yeah. But they have a tendency for their albums to sound kind of similar. It's why American Idiot was so amazing, because it was very different from like anything that they'd done in the sound and the idea of creating a storyline and all that sort of thing. Eventually became a musical. So like, I feel like it's odd to hear people being like, oh, Lady Gaga, she's gone off the wall. It's like, have you met her? Look, like she is experimental. Everything she does is trying something new, trying out something different. Like I mean, for God's sake, the woman did a duets album with
Tony Bennett.
Twice. Like, that's not someone who wants to do things by the book.
Yeah. But
It's so interesting.
yeah, so well, it just actually describes art pop as a celebration of poetic musical journey, and it displays an intentional lack of maturity and responsibility. But yeah, people
This
were
is
like,
the "fuck you, mom, I'm doing it anyway" album.
But it was really funny because the critics kind of were like, "Oh, this, it's actually wow, this is like not Lady Gaga's best work." Like, because I think it always happens to like it could be an actor, it could be a musician, it could be a band, where like you reach the highs, and as soon as you falter a little bit, it.
Well, that's what we were talking about
public,
before. That
yeah.
idea of follow Queen. Like unless you are pitch perfect in every way, you're gonna get someone.
Yeah.
And I think there's also a tendency, especially in the music world, that people want to see failure.
Yeah.
There are some people out there that just want to see.
That kind of reminds me of Miley Cyrus.
Oh yeah, people wanted Miley to fail.
People wanted Miley to fail, and I remember being in the corner, my little gay self, just being like, "I actually like Wrecking Ball, and I love the music video, and I think she's doing really."
You know what's really funny? I remember Wrecking Ball coming out and being like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna ruin her career because she's gonna be all slutty on whatever."
Yeah.
Then I listened to the song and went, "Oh fuck, this is a banger.
Yeah.
This is actually really good." And I think that was a big media thing because any women especially who try to empower
and we are
themselves,
experts because we are two
two white dudes,
two white dudes talking about women.
But I've fallen victim to it where like the media paints a picture of someone, and you believe it because that's what the media says,
exactly.
and you believe it, and you follow this thing. And for years I was like, Miley Cyrus, she's not a real performer, she's not a real singer.
Yeah.
Then I actually listened to Miley Cyrus's music and went, she's disgustingly talented. Oh my god! Like her and her sister Noah singing the "I got so high I saw Jesus." The "I got so high that I saw Jesus."
Oh yeah, I love that.
I listened to that on repeat. A friend of mine played it to me once, and I was like, "Well, this is my entire personality now." But with Gaga, I feel especially because she rose so quickly.
Yeah.
After putting in years of work in New York.
Years of work, and releasing top-notch like quality songs, and like
didn't she write for a lot of people?
She wrote a lot for a lot of people as well. Yeah,
she did a Carole King where it like wrote a crap ton of music for other people, and then went, "Why am I not doing this myself?"
But it was really interesting because a lot of the critics like really just did not like the album, and it was because it comes to a bit of like the commercial side of music, which people take so seriously, which I was a victim to as well, because I remember this was during when Katy Perry released Roar.
Oh wow.
And that kind of era of music, and people were pitting specifically them two together because they had some beef in the past.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, because Lady Gaga famously released the Alejandra video.
Love that song.
Which, and have you seen the video?
Don't think so.
It's where she's like dressed up as a nun, and like there are a lot of like gay men in heels like dancing around her.
No, but I want to see this.
But it kind of takes a huge whack at the Catholic Church and the
Catholic Church. Oh no.
And Katy Perry famously tweeted saying like using Catholicism as an art form is like a truck driver saying fart jokes. It's like the easiest way, or like she came for it anyway. And I don't think Lady Gaga replied, but from that point, people were like, "Oh, Katy Perry and Lady Gaga, like which single is going to debut at #1? Is it going to be Roar or Applause because it was released at the same time? And like, who's going to have the bigger comeback? Is it going to be Katy Perry?" And I think Katy Perry did ultimately win in like sales and all that stuff.
See, I find that so interesting, that the idea of like the commercial side as well, because like it feels to me, I always think of it in the terms of like boxing, because when people talk about boxing, they go, whoever talks more is scared they're going to lose. Yeah. And I feel like with Gaga, she wasn't scared to lose because
she famously made fun of. She was just "Oh no, Lady Gaga didn't debut at #1." But no, she tweeted all this stuff and like said in interviews, just being like, "I don't care.
Who cares? She's in it for the music."
But I think it was because her previous work, Born This Way, The Fame Monster, The Fame, were so commercially successful that seeing it down, people were just like, "Oh, are people like not as into Gaga as we thought they were?" But this album,
as a fan, what like genuinely interested to think of like when you first experienced the album.
Yes.
Like,
and I was Yep. No, keep saying.
No, I was gonna say, like when you first experienced the album, obviously you enjoyed it. You
Yeah.
thing to then see those kind of reactions from other people.
Yeah.
Did it give you any doubt? Because I feel like sometimes if I really like a film and then I go to my film friends and they're like, "Oh, this was trash," I'm like, "Oh, was it trash?"
No, yeah, because I remember in secondary school. Secondary school with me was just a write-off, whatever. But I remember the album came out, and someone in my year came up to me, and it was just like, "Oh, did you hear Art Pop like broke a record?" And I was just like, "Oh, really? Yeah, it's the quickest album to be sold for 5 cents on iTunes because it's not selling well." And I was just like, first of all, well, thinking now, I was just like, first of all, you're an asshole for telling me, for purposely, physically coming up to me and verbally telling me that just to say it because you knew I was a Lady Gaga fan.
Yeah.
You're an asshole. And I remember hearing that. And in my head, I was just like, woo, she broke a record.
That's why you are the epitome of a glass half full person. Like looking for the positive wherever you can. That's
but
great.
I remember it is kind of like when you like have a favorite film and like people are shitting on it and you're just like, well, no, like I think I was a bit immature in a sense. I was just like, well, you guys, like the album's good. Have you like listened to it? It's like really like complex and all that stuff. And now looking back, I think because the fans loved it. The fans loved the album.
It was one of those ones where the critics didn't, but the fans loved it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And we've seen that so much in media, and that was severely the case. And I think now, almost 10 years later, critics have openly admitted that it was before its time. Before its time?
Yeah.
Is that the phrase?
Yeah. It was before its time because they can look at it with a modern perspective and go, wow, she was doing this in 2013.
Yeah, because the album, if you were to listen to it and listen to some of the stuff that's going on TikTok and some of the stuff that's been released in the past like 6 years, you're like, wait a minute, we had this back in 2013 and it's coming popular now. So you're like, fuck ye, this was like the future of music. But it kind of like drew Lady Gaga to like kind of not go into the shadows a bit, but like kind of like I think it caused her to question a bit because
focus less on the public eye and focus less on specifically maybe the mainstream of pop and just make what she wants to make.
And it kind of people were worried that she wouldn't be as experimental because famously after this album she released the album Joanne, which do you know it was like her country acoustic album.
Is this where You and I came out?
No, that was Born This Way.
Is that Born This Way?
Yeah. But it has that same kind of like
vibe,
energy of You and I. Except it's more like acoustic guitar and like all that stuff.
Fun fact, You and I, my favorite Lady Gaga song.
Yeah, it's one of mine as well. I'm trying to think what my favorite one is, but that's like picking my favorite children. I don't have children, but
I love you all the same. It's you, Timothy.
But and people were like, oh, because of the negative reception she got from Art Pop, she's never going to go back to that side of like music again, which the fans were kind of worried about. And I was just like, oh, I get it. But then she released Chromatica 2 years ago, and people were just like, yes. But Art Pop, do you have like one of those albums where you just play it and you know every single lyric, you know every single beat by heart?
Funnily enough, I made fun of them earlier. Green Day, American Idiot is one of them. Yeah, well, because it's just so good.
Yeah, Art Pop to me, I know every single lyric, I know every single beat, I know.
Yeah, I see. I'm weird with music because I love music. I love all genres of music. Like if you look at my like Spotify most liked, it's like, oh, here's a death metal album. Up next, oh, it's a sea shanty. Oh, Britney Spears is next.
Jazz,
a musical theater song. Like I love the music I like. That's my genre of music. Yeah. So when it comes to albums, I'm very selective because there'll be so for example, Queen, A Night at the Opera. One of my favorite Queen albums. There are some songs on it that I absolutely adore, and then there's other songs that I go and skip.
Yeah,
with any artist, because and some people are like,
is there any album that you don't skip, that you just play all the way through and you just love it?
See, I can do that with albums because I just don't think about the lyrics. I don't think about what I just enjoy.
Yeah,
and I just sit back. Rumors probably is one of them.
Rumors.
Fleetwood Mac.
Oh,
because I'm just like, this is it goes peaks, it goes troughs, it goes, because I like albums that,
Even the songs that are like the troughs, they're still good.
but even then, and I mean, when I
Yeah.
say peak and trough, what I mean more is like, okay, this is a really weird example to give, but it's because I remember the order the songs come in.
Yeah.
So the wrestler John Cena released a rap album.
Go on.
And in the album,
How could you see it?
hmm?
How could you see it?
What do you mean? Oh, get out! Oh, the thing is, him becoming a mainstream celebrity, that joke, because that joke was big in wrestling circles for years.
Yeah.
And now it's a mainstream thing. I'm like, God, been chilling.
Oh, yes. We're not even going to go into that.
But he released a rap album because
Yeah.
his whole character shtick was, I'm a white rapper. He is actually very good freestyling. Like,
Okay.
like non-scripted, not people messing around, genuinely good. But he released this album. The first album is his theme song. And I'm like, yep, that's the song you want to hear. That's what most people will know. So that's the thing. The next song on the album is a very sort of mid-level kind of rap song. It's not, I can remember it not being particularly grand, but it was fine. The third track on it is like this, it's not even a very East Coast rap thing. It almost feels like something from the West Coast, because it's very it was all about summer and his family getting together. It's really chill, really nice.
Nice.
And this is great because I'm been hyped, then I was got lower, now it's thing, and then to spike it back up, he does the song Bad Bad Man, in which the music video, him and all of his friends dress up as the A-Team and drive around Massachusetts being mental. I'm like, that's great. And I love albums that do that. American Idiot is actually, I probably should have said American Idiot to make myself sound cooler than John Cena's album. But like, American Idiot starts us off with the American Idiot. It goes into Holiday, and then Holiday, that transition from Holiday, that on Holiday, straight into Boulevard of Broken Dreams is just great. No,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, I love it.
But yeah, for me, this album, like, there's like a few albums that I can listen all the way through, and it's still amazing. Like, this is one of them. And I will say also, just as a bonus, when I went to the concerts, to this day, I think only 2 concerts have even come close to like encapsulating my joy during that concerts, because it was just like a fever dream of color, lights, and inflatable octopus tentacles. Like, I know, like, it's crazy, but like, you go, like, it's one of those things where you go to a concert and you just know every single word and every single song is just a banger, and you're just there like,
that's cool.
Yes. But yeah, no, art pop, yeah. I think people are starting to realize now that art pop is a great album, because it did kind of cause and I say downfall because there were like articles in the public were making like things being like, oh, Lady Gaga, is she relevant anymore? Like between the years of 2013 to 2017, there was a huge like the media just loved like pitting down Lady Gaga, just being like, oh, she's not relevant anymore. And then obviously 2018 happens, A Star Is Born, and she...
I just love the idea of all these reviewers being like, Lady Gaga's over. She's sitting in her house, like writing, or mansion, writing a brand new album, going, oh, am I?
Yep.
Guess I'm just doing this for me then.
But I'll talk about like my 3 favorite songs of the album.
Yeah.
And I think... okay. So I think Venus, which I'll play some of the songs later. Venus is like, it's this idea of like her as Aphrodite, the goddess, and like falling in love with a man and all that stuff. And the lyrics like, when you touch me, I die, just a little inside. I wonder if this could be love. Like just the production values on all this are amazing. And then I would say... maybe Gypsy is a good one. Gypsy's like the second last song, and it's like kind of a power ballady, like kind of like traveling the world with someone and just falling in love. And then the Swine. Swine, you have to listen to Swine because Swine is just like this EDM, like fucking trip of a song where like if you listen to it and like you get the vibe, it's like you're on LSD, just like banging your head in a club while people are like smashing into you, like rocking their head back and forth. Oh, it's amazing.
Nice.
And I think, yeah, I still listen to it to this day.
Yeah. What's your B-side track? Because my mum and I always talk about like, oh, everyone loves
B-side
the
track.
So my like when you used to get records, there would be the A-side track, which is like thing, but on the back there's the B-side track.
Yeah.
And my mum and I always talk about like the A-side track is the song that everyone loves. It's the big one, but the B-side track is the one that you're like, no, this is my one. This is the one I like.
Ooh, okay. If I were to pick a track that's like, I think it would be Mary Jane Holland.
Ooh.
And that's about smoking weed and like
I love that you've demonstrated like
Can you hear that, audience? It's me smoking a joint. This song is about weed. Yeah, no, it's a song about her just getting high as fuck and just being like
nice
and
one,
just
Gaga.
fucking the world. Yeah. But yeah, no, I remember first listening to this like back in Ireland in 2013, and my experience of it was just like pure like just like unabashed gay like euphoria. Just like track after track just being like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and like just and then like this album is like an album you have to listen to on the dance floor. Like, just like fucking let loose and just go.
I feel like there are albums that are like, this is a car album. You put this on in the car, you drive, it's gonna be the best day.
This is a pre-drinks album. You put it on, everyone's sitting down drinking.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, this is an afters album where everyone's
chill,
sitting down,
everyone's
smoking weed.
Yeah,
and just
there's
like,
artists like that though as well.
There are.
Because like for me, love Ed Sheeran. The only time I ever listen to Ed Sheeran is in the car. For some reason, I just anytime it comes on my shuffle, I'm like, okay, yeah. But if I'm not in the car, I'm like, I'm skipping this. I don't know why.
For me, Ed Sheeran, the only time I kind of listen to him is No Time. I joke.
I'm sitting here worried that anime fans are going to be like, oh, his opinions are terrible. Terrence is just putting Ed Sheeran on blast.
No, I will actually. His first album and like is a couple of songs from his first album are actually really good. Like Lego House.
Thing is, I feel like, again, this is going to sound pretentious as fuck. Musical theater people either are, we like exactly what we like and nothing else.
Yeah.
Or we see the musical value in kind of everything.
Yeah.
So even if we're not a fan of the artist, we can still go, oh no, they're still great. Like,
yeah, like they're still good. Like his early stuff, I loved it, and Give Me Love and all that stuff. Amazing songs, but I just don't listen to any other songs apart from that. Yeah. And out of 10, this is a 10 out of 10 album. This is a 10 out of 10. This is a 10 out of 10 album. Literally, like, there's maybe one song that I would maybe consider skipping, but even then I'm just like, listen to 10 seconds.
It has to be a very particular skip.
Yes, it's a very particular skip, but no. I actually have the vinyl.
Ooh.
Which is, it's really interesting listening to a pop album on vinyl.
Yeah.
Very interesting. But no, and Lady Gaga is like my ride or die. Like literally she can do anything. And who's going to be Miss Harley Quinzel in the new Joker film. And did you hear she's not going to perform at the Oscars because of the film?
Oh.
Yeah, because Lady Gaga is nominated for another Oscar.
Of course.
Another Oscar. I think it's like her 6th nomination. It's for Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick, original song.
Great film, by the way.
Yeah, great film. Sorry.
So she's not going to go to the Oscars?
She is going to go to the Oscars,
okay,
but she had no time to, because she's...
It's
for the past
scale into
she's full scale into production of Joker 2.
I'm so nervous for that film, man.
I'm so excited because I'm sorry, but like, so this bit of context. I think Joker the film is famously like a lot of men who we see as incels love they love this film, and because of its message, air quotes, And obviously I don't agree with that. It's still a good film and the performances are good, but like it's fallen into that.
It's because that category of film goer sees that character and believes it's something to be idolized rather than analyzed.
It's like people who idolize Rick from Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
You fucking psychopath. Rick is horrible.
He's not supposed to be likable.
No.
And even in his small redeeming moments, it's to be used as an example of, hey, you should probably do this rather than, you know, like I think the bit in Joker that I think is most famous is where he's sitting down with
Robert
Maury. No, we're sitting down with Maury on the show.
Yeah.
And it's like Murray and that whole bit.
Oh yeah, and he's like, I killed these two guys and all that stuff because like the little guy there. Yeah, and Robert De Niro is just like, that doesn't escape the point that you
Robert De Niro is the ultimate voice of reason going, you still killed.
Yeah, you still killed these two men,
like,
and like we live in a society and all that stuff. But anyway, to my point, I love the fact that the sequel has Lady Gaga in it, a gay icon,
and it's a musical.
playing, and it's a musical. It's like they saw who was watching it and was just
Flipped
like,
it on its head.
we are not making this for you. Fuck you. We are making a musical with a gay icon actress.
And iconically, it's because she's playing Harley Quinn, who I think has become in the comics a massive middle finger to that culture.
Oh, yeah.
Because the idea of people going, I want us to be like Harley and the Joker. You mean a psychotic
abusive relationship? Yeah.
Because, man. I'm nervous for the film as a film goer.
Oh, yeah.
Because sequels are very rarely better than the original. And
very rarely, yeah.
More often than not, worse. But I have faith, because I feel like Lady Gaga is one of these people that doesn't take a project unless she believes in it. And
yeah,
for her
she's
to believe
very.
in it is...
And I feel even though like House of Gucci was very negatively received, she still like received acclaim for her specific performance as the woman in it in the House of Gucci. I can't remember her name.
Her name is not even Gucci. That's one of my favorite burns in a film ever. Where
is it Jared Leto's character?
No, it's where Adam Driver eventually says, "Your name is not even Gucci." I'm like,
yeah, because that film, it's not great.
Yeah,
it's not a great film, but you can exit that film and still say Lady Gaga. She gave 110%. She gave 110%, and
so
she was
Jared Leto. I know Jared Leto.
Oh yeah,
weirdly connecting to the Joker. People were kind of not on him for that Joker performance, but he's still a phenomenal actor.
Oh yeah,
like just don't let him do superhero movies.
Yeah, true.
That's where he's been like Dallas Buyers Club. He was phenomenal in that.
Oh yeah, he won an Oscar famously.
He was very, very good in Blade Runner
2049. Yeah, he was good in that,
and he was great in House of Gucci. Just don't do comic movies. Apparently, though, that's the one chink in his armor. Because as a singer, as a performer, 30 Seconds to Mars are great.
Oh yeah.
As an actor, he's great. Apparently, he's a very good writer as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Just don't do comic book movies.
Yeah. But yeah, so Lady Gaga is not performing at the Oscars because she is there, which it's a shame because I got to see that song live during the concert last summer.
Nice.
And it's so good, and I'm really disappointed that she's not performing, but anyway, Lady Gaga, my ride or die, art pop, 10 out of 10. Still, I think compared to all the other albums, one of my favorite albums from hers. Yeah.
Nice.
Alrighty, that's my review. Now I think it's time we get into the big fat fucking spoiler review.
So from talking about one Batman,
we are talking about the 2022 movie The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves and starring Robert Pattinson. Now, fun fact about this, me and Max, we saw this together in the BFI, which is the biggest screen in Europe.
Is it the biggest screen in Europe? I can believe it, because if you've never been to the BFI, it's huge.
It's huge. It's the size of a roundabout.
Yeah, it's massive.
It's literally a roundabout.
And the sound quality in that place is so good.
But we saw it together. This film was released in March of 2022, which we're actually coming up to I think the anniversary of it was 2 days ago.
Hey, well, this was
the first year. Yeah, I think
a weirdly
it was
nailed
moment. Off the bat, I just want to say that after watching this film, it made me go, wow, for the first time in a while, I'm actually excited for projects coming from the DCEU.
I mean, right? It's
Oh
really,
my god.
And the thing is, what I'm sad that James Gunn has decided to call this Elseworld, so it's not going to be canonical to the main timeline.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I love the decision to be like, right, to try and add this in would make things muddled. Let's just let it be its own
Let
thing.
it be.
Because I think, as much as I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a curse of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is everyone wants a universe.
Yeah.
Still, DC are doing better than the Dark Universe.
Oh my god.
They at least got a film.
Yeah.
Well, at least a canon one. But no, this film. For years, I said my favorite Batman film was The Dark Knight.
I 100% agree with you. My favorite was The Dark Knight too.
And I think it still is, but by a hair's breadth.
Yep.
This film came so much closer to beating out The Dark Knight than I ever thought it could.
Yeah.
Now, I think in a couple years, it may become my favorite Batman film.
Yeah, I think the test of time will.
Because I've rewatched the film once.
Yeah.
So I've only seen it twice.
Same with me. I've only seen it. No. Yeah, because I got on Blu-ray DVD.
Nice.
Even though I feel like that's an ancient relic of the past.
No, keep buying physical media.
Yeah, because they're fucking deleting stuff,
Yeah.
and yeah, we need physical
A friend
music.
of mine's dad, famously, when all the streaming services first started coming out, said, "Save your CDs, save your DVDs, because eventually there won't be enough space to keep everything." He was right.
Yep.
But yeah. Oh, this film! I don't know where to start because there's so much good to say about it and so much to comment on.
Let's start like the runtime of this film. I think because you mentioned The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight actually is a very long film.
It's a very long film.
I think it's like 10 minutes away from being a 3-hour film.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
And this film, The Batman, is 3 hours long. It's exactly 3 hours long. I think maybe 3 hours and 5 if you count the credits. Like,
oh, never count the credits.
yeah. But I think it's exactly 3 hours long, and people were like, "Oh my god!" And Matt Reeves. I don't know Matt Reeves's bibliography.
So Matt Reeves has done a lot of the Cloverfield franchise.
That's right.
Yes.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. Just that triggered like a memory of me watching Cloverfield in the cinema and almost throwing up during one scene.
What? When did you almost throw up?
So sorry, this is a tangent, but it's the scene in the first Cloverfield film where they get out from the tunnel and they've been attacked by the little
the little creepy like
termite things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the girl's bitten and she starts throwing up
up
blood. I remember being in the cinema and actually almost throwing up because like of her watching that and then her like exploding behind like the plastic screen. I genuinely remember almost throwing up. That's a great film.
Yeah, it's a weird series of films, but they're still very because there's Cloverfield Lane, and the Cloverfield Paradox.
Yeah, Cloverfield Paradox, shite.
Oh, really? You hate it?
Shite.
See, it was mid for me because I feel like there's some fun stuff. There was some interesting,
and there's like interesting
beats,
Easter eggs,
but it was quite mid.
It's mid. Yeah.
Yeah. I cannot remember the name of this creator, which is very bad. But there is a great rating system for movies that I think I've talked to you about before, where there's a +10 film and then there's a -10 film.
We talked about this for like 2 hours after watching The Last of Us.
Yeah, because for me, a +10 film is something like one of my favorite films of all time is Back to the Future 2. Does everything good, does everything right, does everything it needs to do. A -10 film is a film that's probably universally, when you
Jurassic
break it down,
Park.
terrible, but does
No,
something
I didn't mean Jurassic Park.
interesting.
Sorry, I said Jurassic Park
Oh,
when
God,
you
I
were
was
like going
What?
bad. No. I mean Jurassic Park to me is a 10+ film.
10+. Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, I
A
interrupted you.
-10 film is like something like The Room, where it's hot garbage dog water.
Oh yeah,
But it goes so off the rails, it's interesting to watch.
that's me with like
I would
DreamWorks
say-
animation from 2006 to 2009. Like all of those are like -10. They're horrible films, but they're so fucking funny.
They're so funny. Like another great example is like The Evil Dead. The Evil Dead was supposed to be a legitimately serious horror film. But then Sam Raimi heard that people were finding it funny and went, all right, let's go funny.
Hey.
Let's do something with it.
But yes, 10+, -10, yes.
Yeah, and whereas a 0 film is like, it's just mid and kind of boring.
I feel like that's the worst thing a film could be.
Yeah.
Is boring.
Boring.
That is the worst. Yeah.
Jurassic World,
Which one?
any of them.
because
The first one was kind of interesting, but
the first I liked, the
the
first
rest of
one,
them are
but no,
kinda
the third one I think
Still
is
haven't seen it.
boring as shit. Sorry,
but this film,
The Batman.
The Batman,
yes,
I think is up there in the high 8s and 9s for me
Yes.
because it's just
it's scary.
it's scary.
The
That
first
opening
scene
sequence
with the like Joker played by the amazing Paul Dano, who in 1 year was in a Batman
the Riddler,
film.
you mean?
The Riddler.
Yeah.
Who's playing the Riddler in the Batman film, and then was Steven Spielberg's father in the Fablemans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Good year for him.
Oh my god.
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying.
And it so famously this was kind of based on the Batman comic.
Year one.
Well, year one for Robert Pattinson's kind of aesthetic and his look and his thing, but the overall film was kind of very, very loosely based on The Long Halloween, which is one of my favorite comics of all time. And when I heard that that's where the kind of inspiration was coming from, I was like, oh, this is gonna be dark and brilliant and great. And it was and it wasn't. I think it deviated enough to be its own thing, and I think it has value in being its own thing rather than a like spiritual homage thing. It takes story beats and elements, but like the idea of this is a dark Batman universe, so it's taking from the Dark Knight, it's taking from the Chris Nolan films and all that, but it's also noir and kind of seedy and a little bit.
I think that they did that brilliantly.
Perfectly.
Like the way they represented Gotham,
it felt claustrophobic.
Yeah, claustrophobic.
Like everything built on top of each other and just like.
And the mystery was actually really good.
Yeah.
The mystery, because throughout this whole entire thing, the Riddler is killing certain politicians and corrupt.
The corruption of Gotham, essentially.
Also, it's very anti-cop.
It's very anti-cop.
Very anti-cop.
It's very anti-authoritarian and very anti-like.
And hey, I love
government.
anti-cop, ACAB, I'll say it till the cow comes home. But I found that. But then there was that one scene where all the police came together at the end to like arrest him.
Yeah.
To kind of show like, we're not fully anti-cop, but
I think it did the right amount because you need to be able to show that the system in place is broken.
It wasn't afraid.
It wasn't afraid to show the wrong.
It wasn't afraid to show the wrong, which I feel a lot of films are afraid to do that.
Yeah. It's when anything major comes up in the news, people are afraid to take a stance because it makes you a target for either faction to just be like, oh, you see, this film is for us. So I think they did a good job of being like, look, the cops, yes, they're here to serve and protect and whatever, but they can be corrupt.
They can be corrupted.
And these are corrupt.
Yeah.
Why would we not call out the corruption? I think a good thing in the Gotham police force is Jeffrey Wright, who plays James.
Jeffrey Wright, what a fucking actor, man.
He is phenomenal.
He's like Stanley Tucci. Every single thing he goes in, he just makes it better.
And he makes it his own because like James, I think the one of the big things about doing Batman films is whatever comes before you have to follow that shit up.
Oh yeah.
Before him,
Gary Oldman.
Was Gary Oldman? Yeah.
No, Ben Affleck, who is
we don't count
no. It was J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, and he got to do about 5 minutes.
I know.
He would have been phenomenal. He would have been great. Like this is the man. Like J.K. Simmons is the man who can be anything he wants to be. Yeah. And they gave him nothing to work with.
Also, J.K. Simmons, I love you for being such an advocate voice actor in animation and just love doing projects.
Don't get me started. That man is
he just
phenomenal. He'll do tiny projects as well.
He'll do tiny projects like Zootopia.
Yeah.
He was just like, I'll be the lion mayor
for 5 minutes. It's fucking great.
But like you said, every Batman film before you have to like.
So, and I mean like successful Batman films because I don't count the DCEU's attempt at Batman because we didn't get anything. We barely got time to enjoy Batman.
And what we did, it was a sequel to Superman.
It was a sequel to Superman, and it was just like because I saw a lot of people being like, "Batman kills? What the fuck?" It's like, yeah, Batman used to kill in the comic books all the time.
Yeah,
it's only a modern invention that he doesn't kill.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna go for an old school Batman that I felt Ben Affleck's Batman was trying to be, sure, let him kill. It's just the fact that it was gratuitous and out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like. I don't. I'll be here for another like 10 years if I go into that. But yeah, he had to follow. Realistically, he had to follow Gary Oldman, who did such a phenomenal job. In the Dark Knight trilogy, like fantastic. Everyone actually, like Rob Pattinson had to follow.
Ben Affleck, but Christian
Bale. And I think the big one,
Anne Hathaway,
yeah. It was Zoe Kravitz that had to follow her, and the biggest one for me personally is that poor Andy Serkis had to follow Michael fucking Caine.
Yeah.
Like, also, the director's name of this has gone out of my head, but he also did a lot of the Planet of the Apes films, which is probably why him and Andy, which is probably why he and Andy Serkis are such good collaborators.
Oh, that's really interesting.
But all of these actors had to follow such.
Wait, did he do like the modern?
Yeah, the modern ones.
Yeah. Ooh, and those are good.
Yeah.
Like War, was it the second one?
War. Rise.
No, War is the third one. Rise is the second one. Second one. Oh, it's the best film ever.
Oh, it's so good. And Andy Serkis as Caesar is just.
Oh yeah.
But no, but I feel like they all had a really hard job. Even actually, your man that was in Banshees of Inisherin.
Oh, unrecognizable.
Unrecognizable as the Penguin.
As the Penguin.
Had to follow Danny DeVito's iconic thing. Like Jim Carrey's Riddler. That was everyone had to follow such mammoth.
And I think what's interesting is that because villains like Bane, the Joker, and the Scarecrow, and who was the villain in Batman Begins?
It was Ra's
al Ghul. You can like contemporize them and make them like feel real. Yeah. But villains like the Riddler and Penguin it's really hard to, because there's such cartoonish characters.
But one of the best, and again, the reason the Long Halloween is, I think, a great starting point. Famously, in the Long Halloween, it takes the space over a year, and a villain in. Oh, by the way, spoilers for the Long Halloween. Even though it's a comic that has been out for probably over 20 years at this point.
Read a book.
Read a book. Read a graphic novel. I hate myself for that. But keep it in though. Fuck it. It happens over the space of a year, and the Falcone crime family keeps having people killed, and in it. The first person that Batman considers is a villain called Calendar Man.
Oh my fucking god.
In the comics, Calendar Man was a dude who literally dressed up in a giant calendar outfit
I remember
with a cape and was like, "Ha ha, Batman, I've got you on Labor Day," and all this like.
I think it's Batman in the Bowl, the old animated TV show. Yeah. He was like, "Yaha!
I've caught you on the 23rd of this day, which is a holiday in Papua New Guinea or somewhere." But in the Long Halloween, he's terrifying.
Yeah,
he's this dude that sits in a cell like Hannibal fucking Lecter, and is like, "It couldn't possibly be me, Batman. Couldn't possibly be me." But I think I know who might be doing it, and like, it's a very Hannibal. It's very. But the killings are very much like the film Seven. It's very like gritty, dark, and brutal.
I think it does get heavily influenced by those Seven, Zodiac kind of
very
heavily.
Riddler's entire design.
Oh yeah,
feels like it was plucked from a Zodiac nightmare. It's great.
And I thought was like, because this is a film where the villain actually wins.
Kinda, yeah.
Like, so the Riddler's like planning up to this big thing where he's gonna flood all of Gotham by placing bombs on the floodgate areas, and then he succeeds, even though he's in jail. He's watching the whole entire city crumble.
Which I think was a great choice, because so many superhero movies nowadays, the good guys always win. The good guys always win. And the really good films, in my opinion, are the ones where kind of no one wins, but kind of the villain wins.
Yeah, that's like with the Dark Knight.
Yeah,
and with Infinity War.
And with
even though it like got resolved a year later.
Winter Soldier. Yeah, but they couldn't leave it on that.
Fair.
Like Winter Soldier, to an extent, Black Panther, because I think that Killmonger does kind of win, because he exposes. Well, I think he exposes some of the truths that he wanted to expose.
Oh.
So even though he didn't go out and start murking people with Wakandan technology.
Yeah. He exposed the like
T'Challa
cracks
and-
of the Wakanda throne.
Yeah, and T'Challa even questioned his own father. Like,
Yeah.
like it was a big thing. But the good guys won, but they didn't come out completely unscathed.
Mm.
And I think having that as the finale, the centerpiece of the film, the Riddler, he's not won. He's in jail, and Batman's identity has not been exposed. But the city is now royally fucked.
Oh,
And-
it's gonna
and
take
everyone
years.
is questioning the authority of Gotham. Because
Yep.
it was every level of
Is it now
government.
martial law?
I think martial law was declared like right at the end of the film, so I
Yeah.
don't know if that's. I'm so interested to see how the next film is going to start. Though.
I'm so interested to see how the Penguin series is gonna, because the Penguin series is gonna follow the events after the Batman. So, which also, can we just shout out that Colin Farrell had an amazing 2022. The
Phenomenal
Batman,
2022.
and then to be an Academy Award nominated actor for The Banshees of Inisherin, and now to have his own HBO series coming out this year.
Can we take 2 minutes to just talk about Colin Farrell in this film? Because he is actually talking about what we were talking about before, the idea of like references and not wanting to hit people in the face with stuff. He's a great example of that because they transform him. Like he looks
Unrecognizable.
nothing like himself, but at the same time, he's still a gangster. Like you like famously Danny DeVito's Penguin, you know, big suit, the kind of the weird fingers, and all this.
Yeah, like the nose.
Yeah,
like,
whereas Colin Farrell's Penguin is just a fat gangster with a kind of a hook nose. So like it's like, okay, he's kind of penguin-y, but you can see the nickname coming in when you start to see him in the three-piece suit.
Yeah.
He has an umbrella in the rain, but we never talk about the umbrella. There's the most famous bit is where they've got him tied up and they're questioning him. Hey, don't show what, don't want.
yeah.
And then,
look at your eyes.
and then they leave him there, and he has to waddle like a penguin after them.
Oh yeah.
It's so subtle and it's so blink and you'll miss it.
Yeah.
But it adds everything to this character.
Yeah.
And he feels like a part of Gotham. It feels like if we saw 5 years ago, we could see the Penguin.
Yeah.
In that world.
It's so interesting because I feel like a common thread with all these Batman films is it always has to be two Batman villains. It can't just be one. It has to. If you think about it, this film, it was two villains, Penguin and Riddler.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight Rises, it was Bane and Talia al Ghul. The Dark Knight, it
Joker
was
and Two-Face.
and then Batman Begins, it was Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul.
But
It's
even before that,
Yeah,
it was Poison
Riddler.
Ivy and Bane. It was Riddler and Two-Face. It was the original Batman film with Michael Keaton the only one that didn't have two villains? It was just the Joker?
I think so. Is that not the one where Christopher Walken also comes in as like a villain? Or is
No,
that...
that's with Penguin and Catwoman
yeah,
with the wonderful Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
I always say the P because I find it funny.
But yeah, it's always a common thing. If you
I've
think
never
about
noticed
it, yeah,
that.
really, I've always noticed that because I remember watching The Dark Knight Rises and being like, okay, Bane is obviously the
I'm actually
man,
shook.
main one. I wonder who they're gonna get to.
He's going to be the secondary
Who's
villain.
gonna be the secondary villain? Because it's like,
You know what's weird? Right.
well, in fairness, in this film, the Penguin, he's not. Well, he is a factor.
He is
He is a factor. Yeah, he actually does influence the script.
Because, and this is another wonderful thing I think about the film, is that it's not afraid to be building without knowing where it's going. Because I feel there's a lot of stuff in it that, like, Robert Pattinson's whole, like, he's diarying everything. He's got the little bits of technology that isn't perfect, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
The Batmobile. Now, I have
That
friends who hate
scene-
the Batmobile. They really don't like the Batmobile. They really hate it. I think this Batmobile is my second favorite Batmobile of all time.
Is the first one The Dark Knight?
No, the first one's Michael Keaton's. The jet
Oh.
engine.
You know what's really good Batmobile? The one in the Arkham series on the video
Arkham
games.
one is really cool. It's a
Yeah.
weird blending of styles.
Yeah,
it's really fun.
yeah.
But I love that he's building Batman. He still hasn't got him perfect. And where will it go? We don't know. We don't see like designs for a new Batsuit. We don't see all this. We just see.
And even the fact that we have Barry Keoghan as like the Joker.
Yeah, we don't know where that's
Like,
going.
do you think it'll be a bit too soon if he's like the main villain in the second film?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I think so too.
I've seen a lot of people annoyed that it's the Joker because the way he was presented, he would be better as a different Batman villain. And I agree. There's a character called Hush in the comics
Yeah.
who wants to destroy Bruce Wayne. And that's the other thing.
Or Victor Hugo.
That I like. Doctor, like Victor Hugo would be amazing.
Yeah.
Because he's Hugo Strange. He's so cool in the comics. But what I loved about this film as well is because every single Batman film really is focused on Batman.
Yeah. This one focused on...
And what I mean, he wanted to take down Bruce Wayne. Now, yes, in The Dark Knight Rises, Talia's whole plan was to take down Bruce Wayne. But I'm like, but it didn't feel like you were trying to take down Bruce Wayne. It felt like, because for this film, 90% of the film, you're trying to take down the corrupt government and the corrupt people. Yeah, but then at the end, it's very personally Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
It's not, oh, we're taking down Bruce Wayne, but really we're taking down the Batman. It's, nah, fuck Bruce Wayne, fuck his parents, we're killing him.
Yeah.
And I love that. Because I think one of the big criticisms of this film was that we didn't get to see a lot of Bruce Wayne. It was mostly Batman. I'm like, but I love that. I love that Bruce Wayne has kind of been forgotten by Robert Pattinson.
Well, yeah.
Batman has absorbed him.
And I think the reason for it, like, even like the being like, oh, you've become a recluse ever since what caused him to be a
well, it's just the whole
his parents dying.
Yeah, his parents dying and
yeah,
all this. And I think Andy Serkis does a wonderful job of being like, please get out of the house.
Yeah.
Like, please. And you see him being like so heartbroken and this whole all this. And I love also as well that I think a lot of Batman games have been doing recently is touching on the idea of Batman's parents not being perfect. Because there are a few things in comics that always stay the same. Uncle Ben always dies and Batman's parents always die.
Yeah.
And I think that became a stale thing in comics that you weren't really able to touch them. Like, you can't do anything. And I love that recently we've seen, well, not recently, I say recently, it's in the past
Spider-Man,
like 10 years. Uncle Ben never comes back, but we start to see like the Marvel Cinematic Universe going, look, Uncle Ben died, we're moving on.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was great. And spoilers for Spider-Man No Way Home.
Aunt May
dies, and I think that was a big, bold choice because she's normally the one who lasts. And I like that Batman content is going, well, we can't just not kill Batman's parents because that's the whole reason he becomes Batman.
Yeah.
But we can question what they were as people.
Yes.
Thomas and Martha Wayne in the comics originally were just two very lovely people in Gotham. And in some of the original Batman content, they were still two lovely people in Gotham. But modern content is going, what if they weren't?
What if they, What
if the whole reason the Batman became a thing was built on a little bit of sand? And I think that's so interesting.
I think that's so interesting too. And what I really like about this is because with the character of the Riddler, I think he was a great villain because like it had the slight chance of becoming like, because you know how he's like live streaming to all of his like people who believe the same ideology that he does and all that stuff. That could have gone into fallacy.
Yeah.
Real quickly. And like, you know, I think that they handled it very, very well because it is something that's very real. And like even the end when he got his followers to like, you bring the guns to this point, let's get this, and then let's teach society that they won't treat us this way.
Yep.
And they like set up in the auditorium. And I thought they handled that very well.
It's again another Batman project like the Joker that's showing a darker side of that kind of red pill culture. And I think the Riddler is a great villain to use that for because he's always been like, I'm the smartest man in the room, no one can beat the Riddler. And it's like that's usually it's the Rick and Morty I'm more of a Rick personality. It's like,
a Joker kind of. But like they handled that character like really well. Like
but they don't let Batman be this paragon of virtue either. Like Robert Pattinson's Batman is fucked up.
Oh yeah, he will fucking fuck you up. He will like this first scene where like the opening scene where it's a bunch of criminals and like they look into like an empty alleyway.
That whole bit where
and like you don't know where he is, and you don't know he is the darkness. Oh yeah, his nickname is the
It's Vengeance.
Vengeance, yeah. Also Catwoman amazingly done by Zoe Kravitz.
Oh, she is. What's really interesting with Catwoman as well is that Anne Hathaway was phenomenal, but the animated Batman Catwoman has always been like so iconic.
Oh yes,
And sadly, I didn't know this until doing a bit of research for the podcast. But the last version of Catwoman we got was in the Batman: The Long Halloween animated film that came out by DC. Because DC, by the way, if Marvel has nailed the live action movies, DC has nailed the animation.
Yeah.
Oh my god, every single animation they release is a banger. The last one was Batman: The Long Halloween, the animated version, with Naya Riviera as Catwoman.
Oh yeah, that was, her last
thing,
gig.
her last project.
Wow. Yeah, I remember that because I remember people tweeting about that.
And it was, and she is.
She's incredible.
Stunning in the film,
Yeah.
because her it's all voice acted, obviously, but she conveys so much emotion and so much depth to the character, where there are moments, because Catwoman, because she was a character from the golden age of comic books, can usually be boiled down to I'm sexy and themed around a cat. That's what but became more, and she definitely gives more and gives this that so interesting relationship between Batman and Catwoman. The will they, won't they? Will she turn good? Will he turn bad? That kind of thing. But and I think Zoe Kravitz does the same thing in this film, because I remember sitting there going, "You're gonna betray him. You're gonna betray him," and she did, but she didn't do it selfishly.
No, yeah, because the whole the whole thing of her dad
a very
being
good reason,
her dad being the crime boss, and trying to get
that she was Falcone's kid.
That was really good.
And done so well.
And done really well. And the only thing I'll clock her for is her mask.
Yeah, but
I thought it was a bit. I thought the design with it, I was just like, really, you've given so much thought into the Riddler and Penguin and Batman, and for Catwoman, it's just a ski mask with holes in it with bumps coming out.
Yeah,
I was just a bit
she's building on it, and she's definitely going to be back.
Oh, she's definitely going to be back, but I was just with Anne Hathaway with the mask coming down and turning into goggles, and then flipping up and looking like cat. That was
But no, everyone's performances, and I think for me, another big tick in this film's myriad of ticks. Is the atmosphere they create using each character.
Yep.
Because every scene Robert Pattinson's in feels dark, feels brooding.
They filmed all this in Liverpool.
Yeah, a lot of it's filmed in Liverpool, Edinburgh. I said this to you when we went to see it.
Which is a bit sorry to Edinburgh and Liverpool, because Gotham is this rundown shit place.
No, but I think it's good. I think it's actually really good using cities like Edinburgh and Liverpool, because they have such old architecture.
Yes.
And one of the things about Gotham that they always go on about is that it's a city built on top of itself.
Yep.
Modern buildings are right next to buildings that have been there for 200 years. And I think that's a good thing. And the atmosphere of the whole film just feels great, because I think, as much as I love The Dark Knight, again, there are very few things wrong with The Dark Knight in my eyes, Gotham feels too open.
It feels too modern.
Way too modern.
Way too modern.
It doesn't feel like a city that's been corrupt for hundreds of years. It feels like a city that,
It just feels like Chicago or New York.
Well, I always say because Metropolis in the comics, I always am like, that's New York. It feels like New York City.
Yeah.
And Gotham, they always say is it's a sister city, it's a neighboring city. So I'm like, so is it in Boston? Is it in New Jersey?
Yeah,
is it
maybe more Boston.
Where
because
is
it has that Boston is a city built on top of.
But that's the thing. Because it's that.
I think 80% of it is man-made.
Oh damn.
Yeah.
But it's that thing of, what do you want this city to be?
Yeah.
Because Metropolis is always depicted as, welcome to Metropolis. Dun, da, 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 da. It's always bright and golden and shining and thing. Central City in the comics is always depicted as kind of, it's a bit calmer. It's nice. It's Middle America. Whereas Gotham is, and Bloodhaven, which is always the kind of next door neighbor to Gotham. It's dark. It's brooding. It's skanky. It's the kind of place where you feel dirty being there. And I think mixing those styles of modern and old architecture gives you that. It gives you that thing of this is a really weird way of putting it. Gotham in the rain should make you not want to go outside.
And the opening scene is Gotham in the rain, and I don't want to go outside there.
Exactly. Like if it rained in the Dark Knight, I'd be like, that's fine.
Yeah,
It's
nice.
everything's sleek and grey, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
all good. Whereas Gotham in this Gotham, I'm like, well, famously, it drowns at the end. Like it feels claustrophobic and damp and grotty.
That end sequence was amazing.
So good.
But and it's nominated for 3 Academy Awards.
Hell yeah.
Which is like, I think the first DC film to be like nominated for an Academy Award.
I can believe it.
Well, the last DCEU film to win an Oscar, actually, trivia. What do you think it was?
Gonna guess The Dark Knight.
No, it was The Suicide Squad.
Oh god damn it! This is they
the
won
Suicide
for best
Squad.
makeup.
They won for best makeup.
Yeah, and I remember what film was out that year as well that I went.
Star Trek Into Darkness.
That it beat.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, the Killer Croc makeup in that is cool as hell. But it's the only makeup in the whole film, really, other than Margot Robbie looking a little bit disheveled.
Yeah. But yeah. That's hysterical. Because watching this film, let's talk about the experience watching this film, because I feel like I was never bored, even though it was a 3-hour film. It didn't feel like a 3-hour film. I was exhilarated watching this because like it managed to get each sequence and the stuff between the sequences like perfect.
The tempo of the film
the
worked.
tempo was really good, and I was always entertained, always like on my feet. Like even when they got the whole El Rate thing wrong, I was like, wait a minute, what's El Rate?
It was
And,
very
like,
good at the thing we were talking about before, the peaks and the troughs of an album. This is the peaks and troughs of the film, because if you're going over and over again, you're gonna get exhausted.
Yeah.
Whereas like a film to contemporize it with currently is Babylon, because we saw Babylon together.
Yep.
It was a really good film.
3-hour film.
Very high octane, then really calm. Then high octane, then calm.
It let it breathe.
It let your that is the perfect way of putting it. It let itself breathe.
Yeah, which I feel even like the new Avatar film, I feel like has mastered that.
No,
because
I haven't seen it.
Well, I know it just it has like very high action sequences and then high points of like the script and like catalysts for the plot, and then it'll just spend like 10 or 15 minutes just like with these kids swimming in the water, like discovering the
showing
world
off
and
all the CGI they could afford.
But yeah, that was my experience of it. And then because we were watching this in a big screen with the audio and all that stuff.
We did really have the perfect experience.
Yeah.
Like seeing this film.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It wasn't just about the BFI made it good, but I genuinely think seeing it in a normal cinema, I'd have been just as exhilarated.
Yeah.
It heightened what was already a phenomenal experience.
Yeah. And I think for me, out of 10, I think I would give it. Personally, I would give. I don't know. I would maybe like a 9 or an 8.
Wow.
I'm trying to flip flop between it because I don't know. There were some bits like now I'm thinking about it. The whole like rat with wings. I was just like, could you not have fucking guessed that it was a bat? I'm sorry. Like, I was sitting there just like being like, it's a bat, and they were just like a pigeon, or like a thing,
fair,
or like
if someone says rat with wings, my first thing is
a pigeon. Yeah. But like in fairness, like as soon as
the
I
second
saw
pigeon is
what
not a thing, you go a bat.
Yeah, it's a bat, and they were just like, oh, what is this? What is this? Like,
I'm really glad they didn't cut. Like, I'm glad that Batman was already in the shot when they said it, because a really funny, a hilarious cut would have been a rat with wings. Hard cut to Batman, just like I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah. And
you know what? I would say.
I think a 9.
I'd say an 8. I'd be an 8 purely because I think there's some polishing to do with this.
Yes.
Because it's like The Dark Knight couldn't have been perfect if Batman Begins hadn't figured out some ground rules.
Yes.
Back to the Future 2 couldn't have been Back to the Future 2.
So maybe the sequel to this will be...
I'm thinking the sequel to this, if they do it, if the trajectory is correct, it'll become my new favorite Batman film very quickly.
Who do you think the 2 villains are going to be? Because people are saying it's going to be the Brotherhood of Owls. The Owls? What are they called?
Court of Owls.
Court of Owls.
I want it to be Hush, and the Court of Owls. I want the Joker thing to have been a complete red herring, but sadly we've seen the additional scenes and all the stuff, so it probably
I think he'll be like a side character.
Who I think it's going to be is Joker and the Court of Owls, but specifically they're going to have an assassin known as the Talon, because the Court of Owls are this like old... In my head, I know this isn't who they are, but in my head, the Court of Owls are the white people from Get Out.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the vibe they give me.
Yes.
And the Talon are like the assassins that they send out into the world. So the girl from Get Out.
Eating the cereal and milk.
But yeah. No, I think an 8 for me. And I think that's the vibe the film is giving me. It's going to be Joker in the Court of Owls with some Talon assassins.
I think it's going to production soon.
Probably. And I think we're also going to get more of, obviously because he's getting the HBO series, we're going to get more of Penguin.
Yeah.
I think we might not get Selena Kyle in this one. I think we'll be teased that she's coming back, because I think this is going to be at least a trilogy.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
At the minimum, it's going to be a trilogy.
Do you think it's going to be called Part 2, or do you think it's going to be given a name?
I would like
for it to have a name.
I would like for it to have a name, and I would like for them to come up with a naming convention.
Yeah.
Because this is very off topic, but it's something I saw on TikTok the other day. Have you ever thought about the Fast and the Furious franchise and the weird naming convention those films have?
Don't get me started.
They don't have one.
No.
They don't have one. So what I would like to see is like Batman Begins, Batman The Dark Knight, Batman The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Great. Spider-Man.
It's about Homecoming.
Homecoming. Far From
Home. No Way Home.
Great. This one needs to be The Batman. Whatever the next film is, either name it The Batman something else or come up with a completely new name. I saw someone someone said Batman The Court of Owls, and I'd be like, that's grand. Does what it says on the tin. Batman The Owl File was another one. I was like, okay, you're kind of trying to make it like a crime drama thing.
Syndicate,
okay.
yeah.
Then I saw someone say, call it Bruce Wayne.
Ooh.
And I was like, that could be really interesting if this whole thing is going to... We need Bruce Wayne more than we need Batman.
Yep.
Because Batman can't fight the Court of Owls, but Bruce Wayne can. That's my pitch.
Okay.
Warner Brothers, hire me.
Well, Warner Brothers need all the fucking help they can get.
Don't worry, they've got James Gunn.
Yeah, and I am excited to see what James Gunn does.
Me too.
And actually, sorry, just to say this, but people are saying that, because you obviously know Phase 4, people have been like, oh, this is shit. People are saying that James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be like the saving grace that brings everybody back to just being like, oh, this is what Marvel is.
I mean, probably.
Yeah.
Like, the last couple of Marvel films have been mid to bad.
Yeah.
I hated Love and Thunder. I'll just get
I hated Love and Thunder.
I'll say that
hated
now.
Love and Thunder.
People are going to hate me for most of my opinions. I'll just
Oh,
get
no,
that
people
here.
agree with you. Love and Thunder was horrible.
Love and Thunder was terrible.
And Black Panther Wakanda Forever was good.
Black Panther Wakanda Forever was good.
Oh, you saw it?
Yes, I finally seen it.
Finally. Sorry.
The only thing I will say is that I think it was a film hampered by tragedy that did the best it could with what it could do.
Yeah.
Because you can tell that there were scenes in that were written for Chadwick Boseman. And I'm like, that's hard, man. That's hard.
Yeah.
And for the film to come out and still be that good, that's a badge of honor for them.
Well, that comes to the conclusion of the Triple Threat podcast.
Hey.
Thank you so much to Max for coming on. Do you have anything you'd like to plug or say or anything to promote?
I'm doing nothing with my life.
No, you should have done the thing that Annie and Cormac did, where I was just like, do you have anything to plug? And they just went, no.
I was very tempted to make a dirty joke, but I think I've been very restrained in... Because if you know me, I swear like a sailor and say awful things all the time.
And I swear like a sailor all the time.
So
and I'm just like fucking shitty fuck.
Yeah. So no, I'm good. I don't know. Go see the D&D movie when it comes out, because I'm a huge D&D player and DM, and I want more D&D content.
Coming out this weekend is the Adam Driver dinosaur flick.
Oh, that looks sick as fuck.
That looks sick as fuck. I want to go see that.
Like, as much as
Cocaine Bear.
Cocaine Bear.
Yeah.
As much as I'm like, I want to see really artsy, interesting projects with lots of depth and nuance, I also want to see Adam Driver shoot a T-Rex.
And I want to see a bear on cocaine. But thank you so much for joining us, Max.
Thank you for
This
having
has
me.
been the Triple Threat Podcast. We come out with a new episode every week, and make sure you like and subscribe. I release on Apple Music, Amazon Music, and Spotify, and I'm also on YouTube. And yeah, so I will see all of you guys next week. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.